Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself, with one another. If you haven't seen these videos, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness in the highest levels of love light. I recently did an energy update. If you're interested in watching that, I talked a little bit about acceptance and resistance. This particular video is more of a continuation of some of the things I've been seeing and processing about our reality from my perspective. And talking a little bit maybe about the DNA. I'm going to see where I'm called to go. The biggest message that's been coming through for me is leftovers and remnants. So those were the key words energetically that I've been tuning into. So basically what I was shown, I'm just going to roll right into it, is if you picture our reality being, well, we'll put it this way. I was shown this person in a bubble. So this is us living in this reality within this bubble. And what happened is there was another bubble that was created. And then it encompassed the other bubble. I don't know if I've shown this before, but essentially what I was shown is held within this bubble is, let's say, old beliefs, patterns, and distortions and things like that. But also held within that bubble are life experiences and things that are helpful for us. And essentially what I was shown is this bubble, let's dissolve, is in the process of being dissolved. I should have put like little lines in there. So let's try that again. This is in the process of being dissolved, right? So this goes and this goes and this goes, for example. So what happens is you have these little remnants of that particular version of reality, that particular version of oneself. And we're already in this bigger bubble. We're already in this higher dimensional frequency or field, we could call it. It's holding us. But there's still a sense of separation between them because we're in the process of integrating this. And it's like we can see it, we can feel it, it's there, but sometimes we have difficulty. And what I'm being shown is some people are oscillating back and forth between these two. Some people don't even realize that there are holes that they can kind of move out of. Right? But I was also shown that these are remnants. So some of the things that are being dissolved where these holes are now in the bubble, or let's say things that we integrated, realizations that we had, now they're part of this whole thing. What I was shown is we're in the process of getting rid of these remnants, fear, whatever it might be, memories of our past, and they essentially are then absorbed in this. They're leftovers. And once we get into that space of absorbing all of that or integrating it, we then now have all of it. It's not that those things disappeared. It's that we absorbed them and we then created a unification where there was separation. We create more of a unification in ourselves because at the time, this old bubble that we used to be in created separation. We felt like we couldn't get out of this bubble to get into this bigger bubble. We could call this 5D if we want, just for fun. So now we have these remnants that are kind of floating around in pockets. And so one of those remnants, let's say, might be a previous relationship. And we all of a sudden run into that person, but we're no longer here. Now we're this person from this perspective. We're still the same person, but we have more that we've integrated. So now we see this person. Oops. It's pretty bad when your stick figures are even messed up. That's part of our bubble, really. And we're seeing them through now this openness. I see you, that we didn't have before, right? So now the same person holds it holds something different for us. So we're able to integrate some of the feelings, emotions, processes a little bit better if we're able to get out of resistance about it. If this person might trigger some of these old patterns, but if we recognize that there's a path now that wasn't there before, we can then dissolve that old pattern, integrate it, and expand out more, right? We then expand out, our bubble gets bigger, and we have access to this bigger space. So I know that's a really simplified version of what I'm seeing. So these remnants, what I was being shown, I'm doing personally on a multidimensional level, I'm actually taking pieces from the old patterns and reabsorbing them so that they can be utilized or composted for fuel or for energy. But if I'm doing that on a multidimensional level through my writing and through my recognition patterns, that also represents what we're doing as a collective or on an individual experience, which means we're expanding out, we're enveloped already in this larger bubble. It's just a matter of, can we feel through that habit pattern, density pattern, the old codes? Essentially, can we feel and expand out and dissolve those old codes that held us locked within a particular matrix, habit pattern, density? Now, the other thing I was shown, let me just pause for a moment, was density pattern or DNA. So essentially I was shown like a coil, and each of those coils, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of these are within our system. So let's say this coil was held within this bubble of reality, held within our body, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All of those letters hold within it information. They hold a sound, they hold a code, they hold something that when put together in, let's say, an alphabet linearization formation, create a word. They create a pattern, a memory, they hold a frequency. And essentially these adjustments are being made to where the linear organization is rearranging itself. Therefore, if you take, let's say, a book, and you open the book and you took all of the letters that were written within that book, or even a chapter, or let's say a paragraph, and really keep it simple. Within a paragraph that tells a story are sentences. Within the sentences are words. Within the words are letters. Those letters hold a sound and a vibration that when put in a certain order or linearization, create a pattern. This pattern is then recognizable through this vortex sound medium of energy, and is then interpreted or held in a certain way, vibratory rate, that then excels us into creation. Now, this isn't exact, I'm just using my own interpretation of this. So what I was shown is the old book, which we'll call as the bubble, holds the same letters that the new book holds, the new bubble, the new reality. But what's happened is we've essentially uncoiled the letters and opened them up. So let me see how I can draw that. Well, so now this version of us is taking these letters, I'll go to the coils in just a moment, and dissolving, integrating, clearing out distortions in the field that those letters might have represented. So I could take all the letters of the alphabet and write a beautiful story. I could also take all the letters of the alphabet and write a scary story. So if I'm going to take all those letters out from a chapter and rearrange them, it's the same letters in a different geometric configuration. And that's what I've been shown is happening to us. We're essentially reorganizing our so much. We're reorganizing how we interact with our environment. We're reorganizing our concepts. We're reorganizing and taking old patterns and essentially shifting them so that we can fit better, expand more into the new reality that we are essentially encompassed already and held within. So this bubble is dissolving, okay? And as this bubble dissolves and we integrate it, we then expand. So now we were there, held within that little bubble. Now we're in a bigger bubble, and then a bigger one, and then a bigger one. I always see everything in bubbles. We still have the letters, AKA the information, AKA the packets, the nodes, the frequencies, the sounds, the experiences encapsulated within our framework. But those letters have now expanded also. And that's where I was shown the coils. So we're continually doing this from what I'm being shown. We expand out, this coil expands, and we're able to extract or pull from our old geometry and expand our horizons, our event horizon, the events that we can actively co-create with goes farther out. The ripple effect goes out farther. We feel more expansive. I could go into so many different fields here. And then that continues on to the next one, right? But within this bigger bubble holds also more letters. So but those letters are bigger. For example, they also have a different frequency. Because they're bigger, they hold more information. They hold access points, energies, and geometries that we may not have had access to before because of our false sense of separation, is what my guides tell me. So this line is a false sense of separation. We begin to clear it out, clear out the distortions, and then we're able to access and tie into and weave together these new patterns that were unknowingly available, we'll say, to us before. So we then all of a sudden have access to this bigger field, and we combine this with this. Now it's two, it's double, it's more, it's bigger, it's expansive, and we're continually doing this. I was also shown, though, my guy was losing his pants here, double heads. I was also shown, by the way, this is all done through the heart. The heart, that's a heart. That this is all a vibration, it's all a sound. And we then have double, triple the letters in order to create our reality. And I'm going to bring it back to the mother, I think it's called the mother star mother that Dan Winter talks about. I had this aha one night. I was laying in bed and I just sat up in bed and I said, I am the star mother. And I thought, where did that come from? And then ironically, the next day I'd watched a video Dan Winter showed, fractalfield.com. I always refer to him. Maybe someday I'll actually get to have a conversation with him. And he was talking about the Star Mother kit. So I just showed you the bubble. And I think in the Star Mother kit, you know, he has these shapes, right? And I'm not gonna do a very good job here doing this, but I'm gonna do my best. So for example, this is held within the cube which is held within a bigger geometry that is held within a bigger geometry. So if you want to call that our bubble, this is our bubble, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And eventually he shows a star that encompasses all of those platonic solids, all of those shapes. And that's essentially what we're mapping into from my perspective. And we have all of these nodes or access points, like a crystal lattice work, that hold those letters and pieces of information, or we could call it codes. These are our nodes that are held within a framework of information. So then this goes out into a bigger framework and a bigger frame, and so it's a continual fractal that we're mapping into, but I see it all as bubbles. So what this does is this creates a new harmony, a new sound. We then are tuning our forks to a bigger symphony. There's more instruments available for us to listen to sing along with, to create with. You know, it's just like if you have a band and it starts off as a 3-piece band, and then it goes into a 4-piece band, and then a 5-piece band, but we're not all using the same instruments. There's a slight variation. Oh, now we're going to add a rhythm, you know, and that is creating a pulsation that ripples out into the cosmos, the universe, and creates more. It's infinite. Okay. So then I was shown these coils, and I was shown this a while ago, but it's difficult to explain. I am not musically trained, mathematically trained, but I've been assured by my guides constantly that I am indeed trained in all of these, but I was kind of called to keep it simple and stay very open about what I'm understanding in order to really access things without a preconceived notion of what it means. But I was shown this as coils and let's say our DNA. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We'll just say we have DNA. And I know there's certain letters that represent certain codons and rings and all of this. And essentially it was this tightly wound coil. And I was shown that it's expanding into a bigger coil. But we're taking all of these letters and we're transferring them onto this bigger set. Now, those letters then come over here. And the word that came through is jumping genes. And I talked about this in a previous video. So we have these jumping genes. So this expands and opens up. All of the codes that were encapsulated within these coils then attach to this other bigger coil, which holds the same things inside of it. But now there was a word that was transferred on top of it. Now we have double. So we could call it triple strand DNA, double, whatever, but that's being activated. Now, this isn't exact. This isn't like the scientific description of what's going on. This is just what I was shown clairvoyantly as an opportunity, as a way of describing kind of what it looks like to me. So basically, as these coils expand, all of the stuff that was held within the coils opens. And it's almost like these time capsules open up, and this information then leaks out into the field, into our bodies. We could call it glandular activations. We could call it DNA remembrance. It's a vibration that causes the coil to open. And all of the stuff that was held within that becomes available to us and is then transposed, I'm not sure if that's the right word, on top of the other and combined. So then we have a longer strand and more letters to work with. If we have more letters to work with, we can tell more in our story. We can activate more potential. We have more shapes to work with. We have more mathematical sets that become available to us. So these letters also represent a number. And essentially, what I'm being shown is that they're rearranging themselves within our own cellular body, but also the building blocks of matter, the building blocks of our reality are also doing the same thing. So we have these remnants or leftovers that we are in the process of utilizing in order to recode our own chemistry set, alchemy, into a higher code. And this creates a higher map ability or mapping exchange in our docile components, in our interaction and exchange with the universal equation. That's a play on words. When I said universal equation, I was essentially seeing, I'm seeing light, quasars, mathematical equations, the university, the field that we are accessing. Now, I know this is a little kind of still all over the place. And again, maybe if I had some sort of mathematical education, formal education, I'd be able to explain it. But at the same time, I just wanted to share, this is what I see. So I've been shown that all of this, although is already available to us, but we're essentially combining forces. We're combining this, and this creates a new set. So if you transpose this on top of the other, and let's say there's 3 coils here, we're combining all of that information. And this essentially creates a fluid conductivity. And I'm being shown, there's a name for it, and I've written it down. I had to look up what it meant, and I've already forgotten. A sleeve, a colander, a toroidal field. So it's essentially creating a colander or a container in which the information is contained. So this is a column. I don't know, I didn't draw that right, but it's just a column, and it becomes contained, and we have multiple columns, and these are like tubes. So anywho, bottom line is we're going through an adjustment period, and where our entire chain is being reorganized. Now, we're seeing this happening as above, so below, as within, so without. So we're starting to see a reorganization of the chain of events, of command, of our value system, of everything, essentially reorganizing and reconfiguring to better fit in our new form, if that makes sense. So that's what I was being shown. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. So you could take it wherever you would like to take it here. What does that mean for us? Well, part of this is recognizing that we're not losing anything. In fact, all we're doing is absorbing it into the greater expansiveness that we are, and dissolving these false sense of separation. And we're coming back into a more organized, less chaotic spiral of time. Therefore, how we interpret time and how we interpret our interactions with each other, with our bodies, with our reality, with everything that's held within this bubble, within this story, is also shifting and changing, because we are a walking, living light codex of chronological DNA, patterns, synchronization, and information. So therefore, how we synchronize our clocks, how we synchronize our own transmissions and vocabulary, frequency, oh boy, there's so many words I can go into. I have to sit down and write this all up, is also shifting. And it becomes a fluid dynamic exchange with our environment. if we allow it to. This will create what I'm hearing is frequency disturbances, as within, so without, as above, so below, all of that. So we might feel our rate of conductivity heighten, and therefore we feel like I'm being shown a train pulled off track. We don't have the same track that we thought we had before. Many of us are still like, we've lost our training wheels. So many of us are still feeling this heightened sense of what can be misinterpreted as anxiousness and anxiety. But in reality, it's just because we've been poof. Everything has been heightened. Our sensitivity heightens. Our knowledge and awareness of each other heightens. Our interactions become more magnetic and electric. And so all of this stimulation, if you've had, it's like being a baby and having knowledge of, as a 3-year-old, of certain words. And now we know the whole alphabet. We used to count to 1 to 10. Now we count from 1 to 100, but it's bigger than that. And also what I'm being shown is our concept of what all of this means also has to shift with it, because our concept of the letters and what they mean are based on this tightly wound coil. And when we expanded it out, we didn't realize, whoa, there's a lot of space in there. What does that hold? So we're starting to see what's inside of here. As we start to see that, and we have to reorganize our definition of what that means, because the container in which we're holding this is much bigger, right, than it was. So there's more to it than we realized, more than meets the eye, right? And our vision has expanded. So our eye is now looking at the periphery. We're seeing in front and back rather than just straight ahead. So now the container is bigger. So now those bubbles have expanded, but this is inside of this now. And so now we just have to reorganize so that we can merge the two, dissolve those barriers, and feel into this expansive resonance that is essentially holding us, giving us this opportunity to shift, to become more fluid. And as these lines of frequency shift and play with one another and interact, we then change our own interaction, inner action, inner standing, inner resonance, and we increase our conductivity. So how we conduct ourselves changes. How we interact with our environment changes. How we interact with one another changes. We start to feel something different in our body. And our interpretation of this also changes. So on a scientific or level of science, we'll say, our understanding of it also shifts, and we all of a sudden begin to see things that we were unable to see before because our distortions didn't allow us to. So it's kind of like that whole idea that the veil has thinned so much that we can now see what was on the other side the whole time. It's there. It's always been there. But on another level, we've now created it into being more sustainable and more available to us, which therefore creates it more in our reality, if that makes sense. I'm trying to put it into words. Like, we created this, and now we're at the point where we can dissolve the membrane that we've been encapsulated within, and we can then open to the bigger membrane that we're now collectively being held within, if that makes sense too. So I know that was a little out there, but I hope that gave somebody some visions about what's happening to our bodies on a molecular level. And then of course that shifts into our reality of our entire system and what it's been, the foundation that it's been based on is now a bigger foundation. Not, well, because it holds the same original format. It holds the same original platonic solids, but now we're going, and that's not even the right word. It holds the original format, but now it's created a bigger format, which to merge with. So we're in the process of merging and kind of collecting these scattered remnants. I was being showed like Bitcoin or whatever it's called, cryptocurrency, where they mine for the leftovers. You still want to utilize those leftovers because they are energy. And so all of the remnants are being kind of gathered up so that they can be integrated or sent somewhere else to be utilized in another portion of the universal equation, which is what I said earlier. The numbers, the mathematical exchange, they can be utilized and reformed into something else. What I'm being shown are sound bites. When you merge two sounds together and you create a new sound. So that's it. This one was a little out there, but thanks for tuning in, and to be continued until next time. Thank you so much. Namaste.